Howdy folks, welcome to the 600th, although the numbers might be a little bit wonky because I think I might have lost an episode or two here and there. But what is officially the 600th episode of Mingles with Jingles. We're running this as a Discord Q&A, a special Discord Q&A. It's the second one that we've had this month. Normally we only do this on the first Sunday of every month as a Q&A here on the Saltmine Discord server. But because this is the 600th episode, we thought we'd do another one to mark this special occasion. That's like nearly 12 years. In fact, I think it is 12 years because I haven't always done an episode of Mingles with Jingles on a Monday. I get my 2 weeks break every Christmas, and occasionally something goes wrong. So I think, counting the skipped episodes, it's almost probably exactly 12 years of Mingles with Jingles. Some of you people were in primary school when you first started listening to these. And now you've grown up, you've got jobs. And I'm still doing the same old shit month in, month out. What can I say? I'm a creature of routine. Anyway, we're going to crack straight on with the questions. Because there are a lot. And I'm going to do my best to get through them. And even Tank 50 US hasn't written a novel in the questions section this time. So it's nice to see that everybody's going along with the spirit of things. First question comes from Grumper Salty. He's cheating again. I think he opened up the question channel so we could get his question in first. He says, "Your Mightiness, it's me again with another Elite-related question. Our Saltmine Squadron is halfway through its triumphant maiden voyage, touring the Inner Scutum Centaurus Arm and Galactic Core regions. We'll be arriving back in the bubble towards the end of this month. My question to you then is, would you be able to conducting an inspection of the latest addition to our fleet, the Stellar Dominion Squadron Carrier?" I would actually, yeah. Because I haven't seen... I mean, I've been on board your old fleet carrier, and these new squadron carriers are like at least twice the size. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind having a look. He's sure it would prove great for morale. Not that the crew really need it. They get enough of that from the beatings. The beatings will continue until morale improves. So, yeah, I'll have a chat with you afterwards, and we'll sort out a time. I might be able to meet you halfway, because I'm pretty sure I've got a ship with like a 70 light year jump range, so I could probably... Yeah, or I could just be lazy and wait for you to arrive back in the bubble. Anyway, yeah, we'll sort something out. I may even record it. Next question comes from Yamatog2. This Friday, October the 17th, Sabaton released their latest album, Legends, covering various legendary people in history from before the World Wars, like Miyamoto Musashi, Jeanne d'Arc, Julius Caesar, etc. Check out the music video for I, Emperor. I think you'll enjoy it. Oh, alright, okay. Actual question is simple. What's your favourite Sabaton song? Mine is Bismarck. Bismarck is a good song. But my favourite, and I can never actually remember the name of it, because it's the Swedish name of Emperor Carl Gustav I. You know, the one who almost conquered Russia. I mean, there's a lot of people who've almost conquered Russia. But a Carolus something, whatever his name was, it's just such a banging tune. You know, Sabaton are weird. Well, they're not weird, I'm weird, because I really do like Sabaton, but they're my favourite band that I don't own a single album of. I don't know why. Because I do like them. They were always one of those bands that I thought, oh, I can't be arsed listening to these guys. Because I was a bit hipster about it, because everybody else was saying, oh, you've got to listen to Sabaton. I was like, I don't have time for this. I'm too cool to listen to this band that you're all recommending. And then I realised that these tunes that I'd heard, that I really liked, but didn't know who sang them, were actually Sabaton tunes. With that Carolus one being... Carolus Rex, yeah, thank you. He's just edited his question to include the... I can see it now. Yeah, Carolus Rex. Such a good song. And that's just Sabaton. They're kind of like entry-level rock. They're rock that anybody can listen to. On multiple different levels. They've got banging tunes that you can just sing along to. They're kind of like Queen in that regard, even though they sound nothing like Queen. But Queen just did tunes that you could stamp your feet to and sing along to, and Sabaton are the same. They're such a good band to get into. I suppose at some point I should actually buy some of their albums. I might start with a new one, so thank you for the recommendation. Next question comes from Minetree93. Dear Overlord Jingles. Says, one, I'll be nice this time. With the river canals throughout England, would you consider taking a week or more trip through the systems on a river barge? A video of said trip would not be required, but it doubles as a vacation or work trip if you need something to do. You know, that was always the thing that we did in school. every year there'd be a school trip, and it was almost always a trip on a river canal. It was like a week away on a canal barge. That must have been fun for the teachers. Not. But, we were dirt poor and we could never afford it. So I never got to do it. And it does seem like a pleasant thing to do, but I just, what can I say? It would depend on where you were doing the barge, the barge journey. I'm trying to think of the right word there. Because I would find just sailing around on a barge really, really boring. So you'd have to organise it to stop at interesting places. I know there's a lot of canals around Birmingham. Between Birmingham and Manchester was where most of the British canal system grew up to facilitate the transport of goods for British industry in the early Industrial Revolution. But then they went out of style once the railways started. So there's a lot of stuff to see up and around Manchester and Birmingham that could make it worthwhile. But I'd be lying if I said that I was going to do it, because I know I almost certainly won't. Because I'm really lazy and I like sitting on my arse at home. That's the thing, I love travel. Well, I don't love travel, I love being in foreign places. It's the travelling to and from the foreign places that pisses me off. So a holiday based around the travel, not in my wheelhouse, I'm afraid. He's got a second question here. He says, can you also give us an update on things that Rita's said or done recently? Actually, she did something yesterday. So the arrangement here is that I do the cooking and she does the cleaning. And it's a great arrangement because I love cooking and Rita hates cleaning. But if we were to do it the other way around, I don't mind the cleaning. And Rita's better at cooking than she was when I first met her, because she sucked at cooking so badly. Honestly, I don't know how she survived on her own. I don't know how she fed herself. She could make toast, turn it to charcoal, and in the process use every single pot and pan in the house doing it. But she has gotten better at it. Nevertheless, the arrangement's good because I do enjoy cooking. I like it. I find it quite relaxing. And she does the cleaning. And what was it? Not last night, the night before. Spaghetti bolognese. There's this YouTube channel called Sip and Feast. It's an Italian-American guy from Long Island, New York, who does he's just such a nice, genuine guy. And he gets his kids to do the taste testing. And over the years, I've seen his kids grow up. His son looks like Timothy Chalamet now. It was just this tiny little... Anyway, whatever. He did this spaghetti bolognese recipe. I caught it on YouTube. And it was actually from the Chamber of Commerce of the city of Bologna in Italy, their official spaghetti bolognese recipe. So I thought I'll give that a go. So I got all the ingredients and I cooked it up, and it was really, really good. But I always cook way too much, so I freeze the leftovers and then we can have them again later. And it's just nice and easy. I've already cooked it. All you do is warm it up and stick it on a plate. So we had that, not last night, night before, Friday. And I cooked it, Rita's job to clean it. So I used 2 pans, one to heat up the bolognese and one to do some pappardelle pasta. Served it on 2 plates and I stirred it with 1 spatula. So she literally only had to wash 2 plates, 2 pans and a spatula. She washed the 2 plates and one of the pans. She forgot the other pan and the spatula. And of the 2 plates and the 1 pan that she washed, I had to scrape bits of dried bolognese off one of the plates, and I had to pick bits of dried pasta off the bottom of the other pan. So out of the 5 things that she had to wash, she successfully managed to wash 1 plate. I was not impressed. But yeah, that's something that Rita's done recently. Oh, and apparently I have to post cat pictures around this part of the video for YouTube. I will, okay. No problem. Anyway, next question from Yalara. Hello there, General Jingles. Yesterday I attended the wedding of my sister, and the church they chose to do the ceremony was right next to the Roman Forum and the Colosseum in Rome. Wow. Okay, yeah. What was the fanciest, most awesome location you attended during the wedding? Well, I'm not going to beat that, am I? I'm trying to think of how many weddings I've actually been to. So I was on. I think I was on.
Ain't giving in any.
It's probably HMS Newcastle. We were in Amsterdam, and I managed to get leave to go to Hull back in the UK for my sister's wedding, but that was just at the City Hall. I think the Catholic Cathedral in Portsmouth, my friend John, no, not John, no, Steve McGarry. I've got these two brothers, the McGarry brothers, John and Steve. I'm constantly getting the two of them mixed up. I attended his wedding. He requested that I attend in ceremonial uniform, so I did. I turned up in my number 1 uniform, and it's an impressive cathedral. You know, most Catholic cathedrals are, but it doesn't beat the Colosseum in Rome. I have to say, yeah, there's no way I'm ever going to black cat that one. But yeah, that would be it. I think I've only ever attended 2 weddings, and those are them. So I didn't get a lot to choose from, unfortunately. Next question comes from Yusafa. Dear mightiest of known kind, finally I've got the pleasure of listening to your voice again. You seem to enjoy games from independent developers and puzzle games. Have you heard of Recur? I have not. You control the flow of time by moving across the scenery in this platform puzzle game. Oh, I'll bet you that's got some interesting game mechanics. He saw the game at Gamescom and he can't wait for the release. I wonder if there's a demo of it on NextFest on Steam at the moment. I might have to look that one up. He says on a side note, the Stellar Dominion is a marvellous bit of engineering. I have no idea what he's talking about. Should I know what he's talking about? Stellar Dominion. Is that a game? Is that a game mechanic? Is that a faction from a game? I don't know. I feel like I'm being really, really stupid here and I should know what that is. But anyway, Recur. Yeah, I'll have to look that one up. Next question from JG Hogg. Jingles, what do you think has been your favourite video game ever and why? Also, were you ever involved in scouting? I kind of, sort of was a bit involved in scouting. When we came back to the UK from South Africa and Swaziland, in the 6th form, a couple of my friends were in the Venture Scouts. And I turned up for a couple of meetings. And it was pretty cool because unlike, I want to say regular scouting, the Boy Scouts, the Cub Scouts and the Scouts, the Venture Scouts were basically just older teenagers. It was kind of like a social club for older teenagers to get together and drink and have a laugh. So yeah, that's my only real involvement in scouting. But your other question, favourite video game ever and why? Secret of Monkey Island and Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge. But the biggest one, the one that made the biggest impression, was Lucas. They're called LucasArts now. At the time, they were Lucasfilm Games. The Secret of Monkey Island, because until that game came out, adventure games punished you for playing them. There was. You make the wrong decision, your character would instantly die. You'd have to go back again at the start. In the original adventure games, like Zork and stuff like that. And then they got a little bit more sophisticated, where they would, again, make the wrong decision, usually based on very limited information. You would unfairly die because you made the wrong decision, or you opened the wrong door, or you went the wrong way. And then you'd go back to a save, and you'd lose an hour worth of playtime. The Secret of Monkey Island was the first adventure. Well, it wasn't the first. There was one that they did before that called Loom, where they used a lot of the same systems, but the Secret of Monkey Island was the first successful and popular one that revolutionized the graphic adventure genre, because it remembered that it was a game and you're supposed to have fun playing it and you shouldn't be punished for playing it. So you could never die. You could just not make any progress and would have to go and explore somewhere else. And it was just like, whoa, you mean you're actually supposed to have fun playing games? Wow, what a concept. And also it had insult sword fighting, which was some of the funniest shit you've ever seen. Because you're playing as a pirate, or as main character Guybrush Threepwood, who wanted to be a pirate. And part of being a pirate was sword fighting, so you'd have to go around challenging other pirates on the roads of Monkey Island. Actually, no, it wasn't called Monkey Island. You never actually got to go to Monkey Island until the third game. I'm getting ahead of myself. I think it was called Melee Island, whatever, it doesn't matter. Challenge other pirates to fights. And it was like those old 1920s, black and white, 1930s, Errol Flynn pirate and Robin Hood movies, where the two guys would be dueling each other on the stairs, and the actual sword fighting was secondary to the insults that they were throwing at each other. It was the snappy dialogue that was the focus of the scene, and so that's what they did with these sword fights. And the pirate would insult you. You'd start off with a couple of stock replies to an insult, and like a pirate would toss an insult at you, and if you didn't come back with a witty response from a list of selected replies that you knew, you would lose ground. And if you lost ground 3 times in a row, you lost the fight. And if you won ground 3 times in a row, by coming up with a snappy reply to his insult, you'd force him back. And then you would get to give him an insult. And if he didn't have a snappy reply to that one, then he would force him back, and so on and so on. So you would always lose your first half dozen fights, but you were learning the insults. And then any insult that had been used on you, you could use on somebody else, and then maybe learn the correct response to it. And it was such a cool system. I could play that game again today. Such a good game. And the sequel, LeChuck's Revenge, was a much more polished and better looking game, but it was the first one that broke new ground, and which is why it's the one that I remember the most fondly. That's a one-line question, and I spent the most time answering it. Speaking of one-line questions, Tank 50 US, this is the guy who normally writes a novel in the questions section, says, no question, just a booster for those that need it. And his advice is, never let anyone tell you can't do something or that it's not worth doing. Because when you get there and you're having that surreal feeling that you just accomplished something huge, you can look at the haters, you can proudly proclaim, I did something, and what have you ever done than try to tear me down? See, he doesn't always write novels, he says. Oh, and he also said, don't forget your lockpicking tool. I think he's just referred to Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days, where I forgot to... In fact, was that today's video? I think he's already watched today's video where I returned. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I returned to Mercer High School to finish picking up all of the stuff, and I forgot to bring lockpicks, and there were locked doors that I couldn't get through. Yeah, because I'm crap. Anyway, yeah, that's well, I say that's today's video. If you're attending the live Q&A, it's a bonus Sunday video. If you're watching this as Monday's episode of Mingles.business, I think I'm pretty sure he's referring to yesterday's Into the Dead video, which I'm really enjoying playing that game, by the way. It is so good. I mean, I appreciate its early access, but it's basically finished. There are 3 different endings, 4, depending on which way you go in the third ending, that you can play the game through from start to finish. Early access, it is officially, but I mean, it's effectively finished. All they're doing is just they're adding new content and squashing bugs and stuff. It's such a good game. But anyway, moving on. Thank you for the question. The next one comes from Angry Platypus. Greetings, my dear mighty overlord. I really like watching your Kingdom Come Deliverance playthrough, and that made me wonder, what other historical, realistic settings would you like to see in the style of Kingdom Come Deliverance? I'd personally be very interested in seeing the legendary pilgrimage of Mansa Musa. Oh, is he the Mulanese... I'm probably mispronouncing that. He's the physician in King Sigismund's camp, isn't he? Because I believe he's an actual historical character who did basically travel across the entire known world in order to end up in Bohemia. That would be good, actually, yeah. Or something around the times of the Reconquista. Yes, yeah. Yeah, what other... I mean, you could take your pick. There's a whole bunch. I'd love to see something set in feudal Japan around the time of... I don't know if you watched the Shogun show or you've read the book by James Clavell. I personally read the book like probably 40 years ago. Something set in that time period. That would be cool. But I mean, a lot of these things have been covered in other... Because, I mean, you know, for feudal Japan, you've got Ghost of Tsushima, you've got... I hate to say it, you know, but because it's inferior in every way, but Assassin's Creed... Shadows. I don't know. I'm just happy that Warhorse are continuing to do what they do and doing it as well as they are. I wouldn't mind seeing a Kingdom Come Deliverance 3. That would be set. Probably have to be set during the Hussite Wars, which started not long after the events of what's going on in the current game. That would be cool. Because you've already set the stage with a lot of the characters, like Jan Ziska, for example, because he fought in the Hussite Wars. A lot of the characters in that game did actually exist. The Dry Devil did actually exist. All of these nobles that you meet and you talk to and sometimes stab, they were real people. Yeah. Maybe, the Reconquista, El Cid, that kind of thing. The reconquering of Spain and Portugal. Or maybe the war for independence of Portugal from Spain. There's any number of different historical Napoleonic Wars, for example. Oh, you could sit here just reeling off all day different kinds of examples. But honestly, I don't care. As long as Warhorse just keep doing what they're doing, they can set it anywhere. I'm going to play it. Next question comes from Rumo. Dear Overlord Jingles, congratulations on 600 episodes. Thanks for making Mondays a little less of a pain. 2 questions. Starts with a simple one. Since you played Chaos Gate Demon Hunters, I was wondering if 40k's Mechanicus 2 was also on your radar. Its announcement was kind of overshadowed by Space Marine 2 news at the time, but the previous game was pretty good. Yeah, I played Mechanicus, I remember that. It wasn't bad. It was kind of like XCOM. It was a little simpler and at the same time more complicated. Visually, it wasn't as detailed, but mechanically, there was a little bit more to it. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. And I didn't even, like you said, its announcement was overshadowed by Space Marine 2, because I wasn't even aware that Mechanicus 2 was a thing. But yeah, thank you for the heads up, because I did enjoy the first one. Oh, and a second question. How did you get the idea for your style of story game videos? Meaning cut footage with narration added in post. I've never seen that anywhere else, and I really enjoy it. It's not like I sat down and thought about what's the best way to do this. It just seemed like the natural way to do it. And that's really kind of the story of my life. I just kind of accidentally stumble into a successful way of doing something because I didn't have any better idea at the time, and it just seemed logical. It's just the way that feels natural to me, even though it's actually really not natural. I mean, I haven't always done it that way. When I did the Alien Isolation playthrough, that was live. Because I felt like you needed to see my reaction. I'm not doing that again. Although, I don't know, maybe I will. Because they have announced Alien Isolation 2. And I will buy it because they deserve for it to be successful. Which means I will probably feel obliged to play it, but I know I'm not going to finish it, because fuck that shit. It's way too scary. Anyway, thanks for the question. Moving on to the next one. This is from Zelk. He says, sorry for the novel, sir. It's a fairly long question, but no, it's not bad. It's about a third of the size of the average question that Tank 50 US poses, so I'll allow it. He says, there's something I want to get off my heart. I'm blaming you and your series of Chaos Gate Demon Hunters for my miserable financial decision of getting into Warhammer 40,000. Sorry, not sorry. Well, actually, I'm kind of sorry. Holy crap, that stuff's expensive. He says, I've now got armies of Grey Knights, Necrons and Space Dwarves, and I'm still expanding those. Anyway, my actual question. What happened to Workshop Wednesdays, and especially that gun from the Alien movies you ordered from Etsy or somewhere similar? I was really looking forward to that build and painting video series. Also, the staff is cheating by posting questions before anyone else can. I demand them to be flogged. Yeah, Workshop Wednesdays. I kind of regret. I've still got that. It was a pulse rifle, an M41 pulse rifle, and it's still in the box on top of the shelf. I'm looking at it right now. And right next to it in the other box is the motion tracker. They're 3D printed. I've never even got around to assembling them, let alone painting them. And it's the same with everything. Fortunately, I haven't actually added to the pile of shame, but I'm sitting here right now looking at models, some really, really nice models from boutique model makers that have been sitting unopened in their boxes for 3-4 years, because somehow I just lost the urge. And I enjoyed painting. I didn't enjoy assembling the models so much, but I did enjoy painting them. But what made me not enjoy painting them was the process of having to record it, because painting something and filming yourself painting something are two completely different things. Painting something is relaxing, it's enjoyable. Ensuring that the lighting is correct, your big stupid head isn't getting in the way of the camera, everything's in focus. That is not an enjoyable way to paint something, and that's the primary reason why the Workshop Wednesday video stopped. Sorry, I have nothing but respect for people who actually manage to make a living out of painting miniatures and recording it professionally and getting it up onto YouTube, because that shit is a pain in the arse and it just ruined the enjoyment of it for me. So, sorry. I'll ensure the staff get flogged though. It seems like a perfectly reasonable request. How are we doing for time? Oh, about half an hour in, no problem. Next question comes from Mr. E. Supreme Overlord Jingles, your first Mingles with Jingles. Well, actually Q&A with the Mighty Jingles. Yep, that's what it was called. was posted on the 1st of April 2013. Wow. Wow, that's, yeah, holy shit. Did you ever think you'd still be doing it 12 years later? I'd hoped I would still be doing it 12 years later, but his question continues. It says, if not, how long did you think it'd last? Yeah, I mean, because you look at some of the people that I was following on YouTube at the time when I started doing this, none of them are around anymore. Not one. FPS Russia ended up going to jail. PewDiePie he still occasionally puts a video up, but he doesn't need to work anymore. He hasn't needed to work for a long time, so he hasn't worked for a long time. And I respect that about him. He's not like Mr. Beast. He doesn't need to make all the money in the world. Just, enough to get by and live on is fine. He was one of those guys whose success never really went to his head. They're all gone from YouTube and have been for years, and I'm still around, and I don't know why. But I'm grateful that people are still watching. Because, like I said, I don't need to make all the money in the world. 650,000 subscribers is, it's a good number, but that doesn't mean I'm getting 650,000 views on all my videos. I think the overwhelming majority of my subscribers subbed to me like 10 years ago and then forgot I existed, and they never got around to removing the sub. And that's fine, but I do have this core, a very, very loyal core of people, and you can always tell because you see the same names in the comments of the videos over and over and over. And when I do a Q&A like this, I see the same names in the audience of people who, and they've usually been around watching me for at least 5 years, in some cases 10, like a lot of the people posting questions here. They've been with me throughout their entire childhood, and I'm kind of like, I'm part of who they are. And they're not going anywhere. So I think I've been lucky in that I've just always had this core group of subscribers who watching my videos is just part of their routine. And so, I don't know, I'd like to think I'm going to be around for another 12 years. But it'd be nice, and I don't just mean on YouTube, it'd be nice to be alive for another 12 years. Quick side story. Speaking of, it'd be nice to be alive for another 12 years. So, first I had the diabetes, but also got diagnosed with the cancer. And with the diabetes, the treatment is really simple. It's mostly changing your lifestyle and being more healthy. But there's also some medication. So there's this drug that they put you on. It's called metformin, and you take as much as your body can tolerate. You'll know when you're taking too much because you'll start shitting through the eye of a needle. So for me, 2 of these a day is the most that I can take before I start suffering side effects. But that's fine. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening with food. With the bowel cancer, there was no medication. So like, hooray. But you have 1 heart attack. You're on a cocktail of medications as long as your arm for the rest of your life. So I've got this like pill dispenser. And once a week I'll go and I'll stack the pills per day, morning and night, so that when I need to take these medications, I only just take them all in one go. It's fine. So right before sitting down to start this Q&A, I went upstairs to make a cup of coffee, and I thought, oh, did I take my medication today? Couldn't remember. So I went to check the pill dispenser, because if the pill dispenser's empty, I've taken those pills. And I looked, and yeah, it's empty. Okay, wait a minute. Sunday's the day I fill it up, isn't it? I couldn't remember that I hadn't taken 12 pills with my first cup of coffee in the morning. My memory is getting that bad. I've always had a lousy memory, but it's definitely getting worse. I think the Alzheimer's might be settling in. Oh, God, no, I hope it... No. But like I said, hopefully I will be around and still mostly competent 12 years from now, and I'll still be doing these videos, and I'll bet most of you will still be watching them. Anyway, next question. The Steel Drummer. He says, greeting Jingles. Yeah, I hope I'm recording this too. The lights are on. I'm pretty sure somebody's home, but anyway, we'll find out at the end. First of all, he says, congratulations on 600 episodes. I'm not quite sure at which point I started watching Mingles myself, but it was around episode 100, and I've stuck with it ever since. Yeah, originally it was just called Q&A with the Mighty Jingles. And that only lasted a couple of episodes. And then one of the questions that I asked you was, what should we call it? And I posted a poll. Mingles with Jingles was the winner. I didn't really like it at the time, but that's the one you guys voted for, and it's kind of grown on me because I've been using it ever since. He says, what I do remember, though, is the disappointment of Mingles with Jingles episode 152. Neither mention nor gameplay of the glorious KB2. My life was in shambles. Yeah, he was like 13 or something. Anyway, this past Friday was the internment for Jim Lovell at the US Naval Academy in Annapolis. Oh, no, Jim Lovell died. Passed away in early August, he says. Jim Lovell was an astronaut, in case you're not aware of who he was. He was an absolute legend. He was a funny but also serious man, important yet down to earth, and for those reasons, my favourite astronaut. My question, therefore, is, who is your favourite astronaut, or cosmonaut for that matter, and why? Buzz Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin. Because everybody says Neil Armstrong, first man on the moon. Yeah, and he was. But Buzz Aldrin was there with him. It's just Neil stepped out first. But he was the commander, that was his privilege. But Buzz Aldrin, there's all kinds of, astronautical and scientific and culturally significant reasons why you could say Buzz Aldrin's your favourite astronaut. But the reason he's my favourite astronaut is because some of you probably already guessed what the incident that I'm about to refer to, because I saw it there was a clip of it posted up on YouTube, and I just thought, respect. Because he was coming out of a hotel somewhere, he'd been attending a convention or giving a talk or whatever, and some guy rushed up to him and started accusing him of being part of of faking the moon landings. And so Buzz just punched him. And that is why Buzz Aldrin is my favourite astronaut, because he's too old to give a fuck about what you think, and he just doesn't give a shit. That's why I love Buzz Aldrin. Next question comes from Our Nation for Which We Love. He says, hey Jingles, hope you're okay, and congrats on 600 episodes of Old Man Shouting at the Clouds. If you weren't in the Navy, what career field would you have liked to have gone down? Could have been a childhood dream, and maybe an interest you developed as an adult. And I know you served 22 years in the Navy, but did you hold any civilian job once you left? YouTuber is the only job I held once I left. Because when I joined the Navy, the pension scheme that we were on at the time was called AFPS 75, Armed Forces Pension Scheme 1975, and it's the best pension scheme there has ever been or there ever will be, because you didn't have to pay into it. It was considered compensation for you serving your country. So it was a non-contributory pension, and it paid out immediately on retirement from the military if you'd done 22 years. So I'm basically, when I left the Navy 12 years ago, 14 years ago now, holy shit, 14 years ago now, I instantly started receiving a pension, which is tax-free. I think it was like £750 a month, which isn't a huge amount. It's not really enough to live on, depending on how much rent. It's certainly not enough to live on now, not with rent and food prices the way they are. But at the time, it was okay. And also I had a load of money saved up after leaving. So I was in no rush to get a job, and I could devote more time to doing the YouTube thing. And YouTube wasn't paying enough to live on either, but I could just get by with the pension and the YouTube money, enough that I didn't actually need to get a job, as long as I watched what I was spending and so on. Also, the other great thing about that pension is that once you hit actual retirement age, 65, it massively increases, because they don't count on veterans actually living to the age of 65. But those that do, fingers crossed, 10 years to go, the pension, I think it doubles in value and becomes index linked. So and you never had to pay a penny into it. So it was an amazing pension scheme. But what was the other part of your question? Oh yeah, what other career field would I have liked to have gone down? It's funny you should ask that, because right before I joined the Navy, at the age of 19, I had a friend in high school called Lucy, and her mother, Isabel, or Izzy, was just the most amazing person. Sadly, she died shortly after I joined the Navy. But she had received an offer from a publisher to write a series of children's books. And they were basically stories that she made up and she told Lucy when she was a baby, about this family of foxes. And somebody wanted her to write the books, and she needed an illustrator. But she had to find the artist herself. It wasn't like a major publisher or anything who would, organise all that sort of stuff for her. And Lucy instantly recommended me because I was a bit of an artist when I was a kid. And I submitted drawings, and the publisher approved them. And I'm not quite sure what happened with the book. It never happened, so I ended up not getting paid for that, whatever. And I applied to join the Navy, and then my application came through. And 2 weeks before, I took the train down to Plymouth to go to HMS Raleigh and commence basic training, I got a letter from the publisher. While they decided not to go ahead and publish the book, they loved my artwork, and they had a series of other books that they wanted me to do illustrations for. And would I be prepared to do it? And this was how much they were going to pay me. So I had to make that decision. Am I going to be an artist, or am I going to join the military? And, the whole illustration thing wasn't a guaranteed career, but the Navy was. So I chose the Navy. But if I'd made a different decision, well, you wouldn't be listening to this episode of Mingles with Jingles now. I can guarantee you that much. How are we doing? I think we'll crack on with it. We'll have a look at some more questions. We'll see how they're going, and we'll make a decision on when we're going to stop. Next question from Make-A-Wish Foundation. Jingles, congrats, a century of YouTubing, and you looked as young when you started as you do now. In your long time making content, what has changed about YouTube that you really miss? And what was an improvement you really appreciate? Something I appreciate about YouTube. I'll have to think about that. What's changed about it that I really miss? You used to be able to get away with so much more because YouTube really didn't give a shit. And nobody was trying to sue YouTube over stuff like advertising. And, it was just, there was so much more freedom. And the money was so much better as well. I mean, I've repeated this many, many times over the past. I'm sitting at 650,000 subscribers now. And 10 years ago, with 200,000 subscribers, I was earning twice as much 10 years ago as I am now, with 3 times as many subscribers. So I've basically taken a 70% pay cut from YouTube over the last 10 years. It's been atrocious. Like I said, it's fine. I get by. I can afford to eat, keep a roof over my head and feed the cats. So it's great. It's, I take on the occasional sponsorship, and that's fine. That's enough for me to get by. Like I say, I don't need to earn all the money in the world as long as my basic needs are taken care of. But yeah, the whole adpocalypse thing, which was all YouTube's fault, because they would take advertisers' money, and they would just leave it to their algorithm to stick the advertising on anything. They didn't care as long as it was getting views. And some of those videos that adverts were getting put on that were getting views for all the wrong reasons. I can remember watching a video on YouTube, I can't remember how long ago it was a very long time, that was being recorded from the perspective of a guy with a surface-to-air missile launcher in Syria, somewhere in the Middle East, shooting down a civilian Russian. I say civilian. It was a Russian firm flying some kind of Mi-8 helicopter, whatever. Like civilian contractors flying helicopters for the Russian army, and they shot this helicopter down, and then they walked over to the wreck with their AKs, all shouting Allah Akbar. One of the crew was still alive, and so they shot him. And this was on YouTube, and YouTube were running ads on it. Understandably, the advertisers were not happy with this sort of thing being associated with their brand. That's basically what kicked off the whole adpocalypse on YouTube and burst the YouTube bubble. Fortunately, I survived it, but only just. But yeah, that's something that I do miss about YouTube. The ability to, it's a double-edged sword. The ability to have freedom on YouTube also meant that people had the freedom to post that sort of thing. So I miss it, but I also don't miss it. You know what I mean? And trying to think of an improvement on YouTube that I really appreciate. No, I can't think of one. I can't think of a single thing that YouTube have done in the last 10 years that's made my experience better. It's all been negative. Sorry. Alternate question, what old game do you miss and think never got a proper sequel or modernisation? Yeah. I'd have to say the Secret of Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, because they got a sequel, but the sequel was garbage. Well, it wasn't terrible, it just wasn't very good. It was nowhere near as good as the first two games. I think that's part of the problem, be careful what you wish for, because sometimes you think, oh, that was a great game. A sequel would be amazing, but then the sequel comes out, and you really wish they'd left it alone. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the early previews that were in for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Yeah? Yeah. It's very much a case of be careful what you wish for. It's not... It's the reviews I've seen all seem to come to the same conclusion. Parts of it are really, really good, but they're vastly outweighed by the parts of it that just are awful, suck, are absolutely terrible. Be careful what you wish for, leave it alone. You don't want a bad sequel to something that's going to ruin the memory of the good game that prompted the need for the sequel in the first place. It's better to just come up with something new rather than trying to trade on the reputation of something that you're about to trash with your shitty sequel. Which is why I love indie games. Because, although actually that was something that I meant to address. Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days, people were saying, what's with the stupid title? I agree. Yeah, the title is pretty, it doesn't make an awful lot of sense. It's because it's a sequel. There's Into the Dead was a mobile game originally, and then Into the Dead 2, I think, was a console and mobile game. And so Pickpock, they didn't actually make the first two games, but somehow they got the license to make a game in the series, so they're kind of tied to that name. Which just made a complete mockery of what I was saying. But if you want stuff that's fresh, new and original, then, play indie games. And the indie game that I'm playing at the moment is a sequel to a mobile game. Oh no, the shame. But it's a really good PC sequel to a mobile game. I'll probably shut up now. Oh, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation also says, if you make it this far, friendly reminder, you bookmarked a question further down. Yeah, at the beginning, before I started recording, I took a quick look through the questions and I saw one that I thought, that's going to be hilarious. So I'm going to answer that one, and that's going to be the last one, because we are approaching the 40-minute mark now. I just need to scroll down to find it. Where's he gone? There it is. Oh, excuse me. Oh. Right, I might have to cut all of that out, background noise. Anyway, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce his name, Cocytus, but he says, what's the weirdest time you've stumbled across someone having sex, or seen or heard someone doing it in a bizarre place? Okay. Two answers to that question. And I'm pretty sure I've given both of these answers before at some point in the dim, dark, distant past. One, in World of Warcraft, if you play, well, you don't have to play Alliance. It doesn't matter whether you play Horde or Alliance. But there's a tram system that connects the cities of Stormwind, which is the human capital, and Ironforge, which is the dwarf capital. And there is a tram station at each side, and it's a really fast and convenient way of getting across the Eastern Kingdoms from Ironforge in the north to Stormwind in the south. So you jump onto this tram, and it's its own instance, if you like, once you step on board the tram or enter the tram station. But you go along the tram lines, and then it goes under a lake, and you're in this tunnel, and you can look out, and oh, this is really nice and nice. But pay attention, or rather, it's probably best not to pay attention. As you're travelling down the tram lines, you can sometimes see people, other players, in the shadows, in the alcoves, emoting unspeakable things to each other. For some reason. If you want to go dogging in World of Warcraft, everybody goes to the Deep Run tram to do it. And it's just deeply, deeply disturbing. So that's the virtual reply. For the real world reply, when I can't remember exactly when this was. I was living on Gosport High Street in a rented flat above an estate agent's. And this would have been around like the very late 90s, early 2000s. And the thing about Gosport High Street is it's not a very nice place. It's full of, they call themselves nightclubs. They barely deserve the term. Just these really nasty places where a lot of the people from HMS Sultan, which is the engineering school, will go to at night to get laid and get drunk. The thing about where I lived was my front door was down a side alley, and it was the first side alley that people would walk past when coming out of the nightclubs on their way to the taxi rank. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, pretty much every morning, I would get woken up by people puking, pissing and fighting in the alley right outside my bedroom window. So it was a lovely place to live. However, at the back of the property, because I was on like the first floor. If you're American, by the way, first floor is what you guys call the second floor. Here in the UK, we have the ground floor, which you call the first floor, and then we have the first floor on top of the ground floor, which you call the second floor. So yeah, just making sure everybody is singing from the same hymn sheet here. So I'm on the upstairs, and then at the back of the property was my bathroom, and then there was a back door which opened onto the roof of the estate agent, which was below me and who owned the flat that I rented from them. At the back of that, there was some waste ground, and it really was just nasty. It was brick-walled with a broken door, and there was no top to it. It was just a full brick wall thing, and it was just used as a dumping ground. And it was like the jungles of the Amazon in there, with overgrown shit and rubbish that had been dumped in there over the years. It really was disgusting. Well, anyway, one night, I think it was a Saturday, can't remember exactly when, and it was at around 2 o'clock in the morning, because it was nightclub kicking out time, and surprisingly nobody had been fighting, puking or pissing in the alleyway outside my front door. But I got woken up by the overpowering stench. It was a smell that woke me up, of this just smell of fish. It's the only way I can describe it, and it was enough to make your eyes water. Now, bearing in mind, this was in my bedroom, and in order to get from my bedroom to that bit of waste ground at the back that I was talking about, you had to come out of the bedroom, into the corridor, across the landing, through the bathroom, out the back door, across the back roof of the estate agent, and then you're in the dead ground. So we're talking, this was probably 20 metres away from where I slept, and the smell was so strong it woke me up, and I had no idea what it was. So I thought, is this a gas leak or something? I'd better investigate. So I woke up properly, put some slippers on, and the smell got stronger the closer I got to the back of the flat. So I knew it was coming from somewhere back there. And as I got to the back door and I opened it, suddenly I could hear the source of the smell. Somebody was in the waste ground, and all I could hear was, "Oh, Dave. Oh, yes, Dave. Oh, that's so good. Give it to me, Dave. Give it to me." The smell was coming from her fanny. Clearly, she was a quality lady. She stank so much, the smell of it woke me up 20 metres away. So I shouted, "For God's sake, Dave, take us somewhere nice." Shut the door and ran off back to bed. And on that bombshell, that is going to have to be it for this, the 600th episode of Mingles with Jingles. I hope you all enjoyed it. I just need to switch back to the Q&A channel to see everybody's reactions to this one in chat. Damn, that's nasty. Yes, it was. It really was incredibly nasty. I don't know who Dave was. I don't know whether to congratulate him or sympathise with him, but geez, his taste. Yeah, anyway, I think I've already said too much. Hope you all enjoyed it. Take care, and as always, I'll catch you next time.